Good afternoon, guys. I hope everyone is fine. I just wanted to stop in again to continue our conversation about change management. All right, so today we're going to talk about the change management walkthrough. So we're going to walk you guys through an actual scenario where we were requested to implement a change and how we manage the actual process. So the first thing that we want to speak about is the change request form. So the change request form is the form that starts out the entire change management process within the Blue Care framework. And this change request form captures all the requirements from a technical and a business perspective, right? And it contains the following sections: the details, the impact analysis, the MOP or method of procedure, pre-implementation and post-implementation works, rollback plan, and the sign-off from the technical area and the business or commercial area of the business. Let's look at the scenario. So we raised this scenario during the week just to prompt you guys to think about it, because this is the scenario that we want to concentrate on and walk you guys through the situation. So one of our customers has logged a case with our help desk to have a new department added to the existing network infrastructure. So the case number assigned was 325. The business has restructured to enable more efficient service and they need this addressed ASAP. So they've called into Blue, they've already logged a request. Our help desk team has given them a case number, and that case number was 325. This is now assigned to the appropriate Blue team member. In this case, it could be one or multiple people. The assigned resource or resources, then they begin to understand the change, because many times the change or the requirement comes to us at a business level. That's fine. We now have to take that and drop it down to a technical level in cases where that is necessary. All right, so we start to investigate. The change request form is completed and submitted for approval. It's very important, guys, that we understand that we as an organization do not effect any change on any customer's network without approval. Not everybody agrees with this sometimes, but we stick by our process. So the change request form is completed and signed and sent for approval. Once approved, the change is actioned. So let's go, guys. Let's walk through the process. So I've pre-filled this change request form based on the requirements that was sent to us. So there are some things that I may not have gone fully in depth in because of time and so on, but you can always reach out to us so we can walk through this process in even greater detail. All right, so the change request details section of the request form takes just that, the high level details. The help desk case, we always try to align a change request form based on a case. In other words, we action no change if it does not have an official request in our help desk. All right, so this first field here, help desk case number, aligns the request with the actual change required. And we look at proposed date and time of change. So this is the time that we want, or the business wants, to have that change implemented. This can change lower down in the document. Requester name, in this case, I have put myself as the requester. Summary of change. I want you to understand that the details here are a little different and a little more, it contains a little more information than you would have gotten before. That's all part of the process. So the customer service department has expanded to include a new section called virtual support services. You didn't know that before. This department, I had some English errors there, sorry about that. This department will focus on supporting customers virtually. All right, this will include adding 10 more staff members. So essentially the business is expanding to more efficiently address or service virtual customers. So they're forming a whole new department for that service. All right, but look a little closer, guys. These are the services that are necessary: email, internet access, work from home, corporate phone service, Office 365, cloud access, etc. You realize that the process sparks more and more detail. That's part of it, guys. The business may not know that these things are required, but it's our responsibility when working with our customers to actually get the necessary detail. Change classification. This can be routine, emergency, or enhancement. This is an enhancement. And I want to point something out, guys. This form is a form that we customize, which aligns the ITIL with respect to change management and so on. Different organizations could have different things implemented. The more important thing here is that the process is in place. Let's look at impact analysis. Very, very, very important. These few lines here helps us and the business to understand the impact of the potential change. Look at the affected devices: Ethernet switching core, perimeter firewall, the IP-PBX, Active Directory infrastructure. These are the things that are going to be touched during that change. And it's only fair that the business has a full understanding of what is going to be touched. The affected services, in other words, what services are going to be affected? In this case, none, because all of these changes can be made with zero downtime. If there were any instances or any potential instances of downtime, then we would have identified, okay, these will be affected services. And for how long? Expected service outage, again, none. All changes can be applied without service interruption. This is where the business will see at a glance, within the first 10 seconds of watching this document, what am I going to, what are the risks? What are my customers going to see? How is the company going to be impacted? And this process actually creates that transparency. Let's go into the method of procedure. Right? MOP, or method of procedure, in the engineering world speaks to what are you going to do. List exactly what are you going to do. Be very transparent. Propose start date and time. Propose completion date and time. When are you going to start? What day? What time? When are you going to finish? What day? What time? The business will understand that from 4 to 6, we have 2 hours to complete this change. So they expect that if there were any kind of potential service outages, that would be between 4 to 6. So if I have anybody working within 4 to 6, the expectation is that they may not be able to work on certain things, if this were the case. All right, so be very transparent here, guys. Going into pre-implementation works. In many scenarios, there are things that should be done before the actual implementation. Not all the time they are done, and many times they're never documented or even thought of. The process forces that. Force may be a strong word, but you know what I mean. So pre-implementation works. A lot of people within the BLU team have to get involved to do different things. So for example here, prepare the VLAN design for the new section, which is VSS, Virtual Support Services. Anuj is allocated to that. Prepare the IP, as in the layer 3 design for that environment. That's Anuj again. Firewall policies, VoIP, myself. Ian will prepare the testing scripts and so on. Not to go through everything, but it's very important that the pre-implementation steps are identified and the resources to action those implementation steps are also identified. Because the premise here is, guys, if these things are not completed, you go into the implementation either not being prepared or to do these things, and you lengthen that 4 to 6 times. So these are things that you can do before, and in many cases need to be done before, right? Again, being very transparent to the business. Implementation work, so we're into the actual implementation. So within the time 4 to 6, this is the time frame we're looking at these activities. Test all business services before beginning configurations. At BLU, we have a thing that we do on every implementation. We test the organization's business services before and after. We always walk into an organization and have them understand the importance of understanding that everything is functional before any changes are made. We work with the organization to define those lists of critical services that need to be tested before and after each implementation. That's very important, guys. You don't want to be troubleshooting something that was never functional before you started to work. That's madness. All right. So in this case, Anuj will back up the configurations. We will start to implement layer 2 and layer 3 configurations, and the job goes on, guys. Again, being very transparent, as these things are completed, the team will actually take it off. But I want to draw your attention to a particular point. Look at point 1 under implementation works. Test all business services before beginning configurations. refer to services test. As I mentioned, that's a services list that we would work with the customer to define. Backup all configurations. Point 2, implement layer 2 and 3 configurations. What I want to point out is that these actual steps are either all detailed in this map or they are detailed on a separate script and the script referred to in the change management document. It's not a case of just listing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, this document goes for technical sign-off as well. So within our team, all of us are knowledgeable and equipped enough to actually read each of these scripts or each of those programming activities that we have to perform and sign off on whether it's going to work or not, whether we need to test it or not. However we approach it, we have to be 100% transparent to the organization. It's not just about listing it, it's about if you have 10 lines of code to write those 10 lines of code, otherwise it's not going to be approved technically. All right, so we bring everything to the forefront. If mistakes have to be made, we prefer that those mistakes are made at this stage of the process rather than in implementation. So it's in depth. Again, we continue with the actual implementation steps. Coming out of that now, if something goes wrong, we have to understand what is the trigger for us having in our mind, okay, we need to roll back, we need to do something else, we need to fall back from this, it's not successful. That is the rollback trigger. In this case, if at pre-testing we have a lot of stuff that is not working, we will report to the organization, these things are actually non-functional, we prefer not to move forward on these until these things are addressed. We don't want to compound the situation. If after testing we have issues, we can roll back, but we would have built in the implementation steps, configuration, backups, and so on. So guys, this document is fluid. The answers that you see here will change, I guarantee you, with each implementation. This was a simple implementation. It can get many times more complicated. But the challenge here, guys, is to follow the process. This is how we do this at BLU. The rollback plan, we identify the steps that will be necessary to place the organization back in the position that they were prior to any of these issues or changes. And all of this and all the supporting documentation and scripts goes to the business for technical and business sign-off. Generally, technical signs off first before it goes to the business, because the business should understand that the technical team has signed off on functionality. Many times not the person that actually is going to run the actual operation, but another engineer to verify what is happening. They will sign off technically, or myself, and then it goes to the business or the relevant customer having confidence that we've signed this off and it's going to work. That is a summary of the change management process here, guys. And with different customers, the change advisory boards and so on will be comprised of different people. And we at BLU, we form the technical arm of all of those change advisory boards. And different people within the business, the customer assigns the responsibilities accordingly. So thank you for taking the time, guys. I hope you have a better understanding of how we do infrastructure change management. If you don't, or even if you just want some additional information or you need a consultation how to get this into your environment, give us a call, reach out to us on the information on the screen or any of our social media channels. Have a wonderful day, guys, and continue to be safe.